Hello and welcome to my retro watches. Yes, this is another Phoibos. My favourite micro brand has sent yet another one in, and this one is not going to disappoint. So, what is the watch that's in the box? Let's get it straight out and show you. So this one is called the Proteus. Now it's an existing line, it's not a new line. They did very well with it, and they've now come out with a few new colourways, this green being just one of them. But this is a beast. It's a 300m dive watch, and it is epic in every way. Typical Phoibos, really nice design. I'm loving this dial, and the dial has actually got texture on, which I don't think you can see in this light. So talking of light, let's do the usual in my reviews. Let's go outside, see it in the daylight, and I'll tell you all about the specs and the pros and cons to this watch. Here we are then, out in my garden on a typical mid-spring day here in England. The sky is grey and overcast, just like most days. Let's start off with the watch dimensions. The case diameter, if you can call it a diameter, as those angled lugs do make this watch look a little bit more square, is 42mm at its widest. And personally, I think it does wear smaller on the wrist, and I'm going to demonstrate that shortly. The thickness is 14mm, but it's more like 13 due to the very slight double dome sapphire crystal that's been fitted. For those who don't know what a double dome crystal is, it's basically domed on both sides, which gives a clearer view from very tight angles, unlike a single dome where at angles the light is bent and you can't really tell the time very clearly. Lug tip to lug tip is officially 49mm on their website, but with those male end links, it's actually more like 52. It's big in sizing, but again, not reflected on the wrist as the lugs angle down so well that it gives the appearance of a smaller watch. Here's a wrist shot to actually demonstrate what I'm trying to say. Also, the lug width is 22mm, and this bracelet does actually taper down to 20mm at the clasp for my size wrist of around 7 inches, which is 180mm. Let's move on to the dial, because there's a heck of a lot to talk about there. Firstly, those indices, they kind of remind me of teeth. And as Phoibos are all inspired by Greek mythology, then perhaps this represents an ancient sea monster, or perhaps just some sword tips. The watch name is Proteus, and from what I can tell, Proteus was the son of Poseidon, who of course was god of the sea. The hands are baton style with sort of arrow points, and they match very well with those indices in my opinion. The second hand is really cool, but let's face it, it is borrowed from the Rolex Milgauss. However, lightning bolts can be found in Greek mythology, so I will sort of pass this off from Phoibos, because I actually think it works very well on the watch, and I really like that red loomed tip as well. There's a lovely white minute track frame in the dial, and that's also loomed, and I'm going to show you that shortly. The dial has a grainy texture to it, and I love textured dial. This one is done very well, and of course the colour there is in matte. The usual Phoibos octopus logos embossed in silver at 12, and at 6 o'clock you can see the automatic is in red, which gives it some contrast and matches the hand, which is all important. And then 300 meters of water resistance. Yes, this is a 300m dive watch, which is great to see, and especially at this price point, which I'm going to tell you about a little bit later on. Finishing the dial is the date window at 3. It's a very small round aperture. It's functional, it's visible. I'm not quite sure if it works, but this is fitted with the NH35, my love-hate movement, and of course that is a date movement, so they're utilising it rather than having a ghost position. Then there's that bezel. It's 120 click. It's easy to operate, and it's got a very satisfying click. My daughter actually asked me the other day what a bezel was for, and I simply answered, it's a fidget toy. The bezel has a ceramic insert that's actually fully loomed, so let's now show you this watch in the dark. Phoibos do loom exceptionally well in my opinion, and here we go again with an epic light show. They are boasting 15 layers of C3 and BGW9, and I am still waiting for somebody to tell me how you can layer loom 15 times because I can only do it once. Anyway, this watch glows and glows very well for hours. It's actually some of the best lume I've seen in any of the watches that I've reviewed so far. Now it's time for the case, and what a case it is. It's full of angles and facets, which, believe you me, cannot be all that easy to produce. There's got to be a lot of accurate machining going on here. There's some exquisite brushwork on the sides of the case, and that small facet running along the edge is highly polished. How on earth do they do that? Work around the lugs is also superb. You've got vertical brush into the lugs itself and onto that little tip. It also flows nicely onto the male end links. I've always been impressed with Phoibos' casework, but this one has really caught my eye. I think it's all those different angles do give it a real nice look. Now look at that crown. To me, it's a feature of the watch. It's what caught my eye first of all when they sent me the photographs. That spiralling effect is very nice, but it's also quite functional because it's spiraling the right way. So when you want to screw the crown down, it's giving you a good bit of grip. The Phoibos logo again is found on the end. It's embossed and it's also shot blasted. Definitely a standout feature on this watch. Flip the watch over and we get that lovely looking case back with the Phoibos logo there, highly polished and embossed. Now I have seen that logo before in a case back, but I've not seen that type of scalloping around the edge, and there is not a spanner in sight that's going to open that. And this watch, as I've said, has got the NH35, which is my love-hate movement, because we don't know at this moment how well this is going to perform on the Timegrapher. And for me to adjust it, I'm going to have to get out one of my sticky balls, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to open this case back. So all that's left is the bracelet and clasp. The bracelet is solid stainless steel. It's brushed all over. You've got flat tops and angled sides, which match very well to the case. Also got screw pins for adjustment. I've got no complaints with the bracelet whatsoever. But when we move down to the clasp has got a milled underside, but the top part is just pressed, and that bit feels particularly tinny. You've got the fold over safety clasp, but you've got no side pushers, which I keep actually going for every one time I want to take this watch on and off. It has got 4 micro adjusts, so it's going to fit nice and easily, but there's no slide-in clasp. So strictly speaking, this is not an official dive watch. It's more of a desk diver come watch that you want to swim with. Now it's time for the all-important price. Now, all colour variants, apart from the black forged carbon, which will be around $10 more, are €305 from their European warehouse, $315 from their worldwide site, which is just under around 260 UK pounds, which is a great deal for actually what you're getting. However, that's not it. If you get in real quick, like before the 25th of May, which is only a few days away when this video goes out, there's actually a $50 or a €50 discount on top of that, which makes this watch an absolute bargain if you ask me. So there's links in the description. The worldwide one is affiliated, so I would receive some commission just for any transparency. If you are after the 25th of May and you still want to pick this one up, then you can use my discount code, which is Retro Watches, capital R, capital W, all one word. See it in the description down below, and that will actually save you 10%, but only from the worldwide store. Now then, let's get back to the bench and let's test that NH35 movement. Welcome back to the bench, and now we're going to see what this movement is going to do on the Timegrapher. Always worrying time for me now, because this is the NH35, and if you've watched any of my other reviews, you'll know I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this one. Certainly seems that they come out of the factory a little bit less desirable than I would like. So I'm going to hit the start button. Let's see what trace we're going to get. Instantaneously it is coming through, and well, it's better than a lot of the ones I've seen so far. We've got a pretty respectable 0.1 beat error, and the amplitude of course is looking pretty sweet as well, but we're gaining 25 seconds a day. And okay, that's still within Seiko tolerance, but it's not to within my tolerance. That certainly can be brought in a lot better than that. However, let's try it in a few different positions as always. So we're going to go to pendant up, or crown up if you like, and just give it a quick few seconds. And of course what we're looking for is to make sure that the trace is basically following the same sort of angle. So what we can see actually here is when it catches up and gives us a new reading, is that the rate will have dropped quite significantly. So there we go. So in crown up, it's actually running pretty decent. And don't worry about a few of the scatter marks. That will be just slight resonance probably from the bracelet. And at 0.6 now, 6 seconds, this is good. This is certainly good for me because I'm left-handed, and therefore the crown is pointing up my arm. So this for me is going to be in good tolerance. But interesting though to see such a drop or an improvement in rate actually. So again, I'm going to turn it now to the crown down. This normally is a bit more stressful, and as a result we can see there it just needs a moment to catch up. However, the rate is still, you know, within 10 seconds a day. Beat error is out. I expect that it's always going to be out in this position. But yeah, overall I'm okay with that. So we'll also now try the dial down just for good measure. Still really consistent, isn't it, actually? So this NH35, apart from in that dial up, which I'm going to try and get it back to now, just to make sure I've not had any misreadings, this NH35 is a lot better than the ones I've seen so far. But there we go again, look, so we're back at dial up, and it's gaining quite a lot. So what would be causing that, I wonder? There's probably something slightly amiss. I can probably tweak that in, but at the compensation of then losing some of it in the other parts of the in the other positions, should I say. So overall, okay, NH35 is a great movement, let's face it, really. Hand winding, hacking, extremely reliable, 24 joules. I think it's 41 hours power reserve, it's something like that. Big staple movement, won't go wrong, and if it does, you can just go and buy another one and put it straight in. Don't even bother having to service it if you didn't want to, or pay somebody like me to service the watch. So the movement passes my approval. So let's sum this watch up. The likes are, well, pretty much everything. There's not much I don't like about this watch at all. I love that dial texture. I actually love this green colour. The case angles are really cool. That crown does stand out to me a lot. Yes, it's a bit of a chunk of a watch, but then for 300 meters of water resistance, then perhaps it should be. My only negative, it's got to be that clasp. It's kind of like a little bit of an afterthought. I've seen better clasps on Phoibos, and perhaps they could have improved it on this one. But for that price point, really, I'm just picking at straws, to be honest with you. Maybe as well the date window or the date complication itself. Now, I'm not really a massive fan of these ghost positions on the crowns. It doesn't really matter, really, because when you pull it out, you pull it out. But in principle, if there is a date complication behind that dial, then I want to see it, and I guess that's what Phoibos have done here. Whether I like the design of that very small circle, it does function well, and of course it shows it, but I'm just on the edge on that one, and I am really nitpicking here. Now, I know maybe you think I'm biased. I get sent watches, some of them I don't have to send back, like this one, and that's somehow supposed to reflect in the review more positively. Well, look, I am a positive person. I do look for the negatives in the watches that are sent to me, and if I find them, of course, I portray them to you guys, but I tend to like everything that I see. I've got a very broad spectrum of watches. Go and have a look at my website and you will see my collection. It's from very traditional to the most outrageous, wacky 70s stuff you can imagine, and I love it all for all different reasons. So in many respects, I'm probably an ideal channel to do a watch review, because I'm going to be quite positive about everything I see, because I only see the good. But I wanted to clear that up. It is always going to be honest, So perhaps I'll get a bad watch one day and I'll be able to go crazy about it. But I do get offered some really weird stuff, to be honest, and I don't want to poison your eyes or actually have spending time trying to make a review on something I just don't actually get into at all. So there we go. That is the end of this review. I do hope you enjoy it. Please check out Phoibos if you're interested in these sorts of watches. They are a great brand. Like I say, they're doing most of their own designs and they are standing out there. And I'm always going to support them, I feel, because at the moment, until someone else comes along, they are going to be my favourite micro brand. So check out my website, My Retro Watches. Please go and follow me on Instagram if you can. I do post on there almost daily, trying to show you what I'm wearing or what I'm doing. Check out the Facebook group, Retro and Vintage Watches and Restorations. 10,000 people talking all day and all night, all about watches and watch repair. So be there or be square. And that will be it. So comment below. I'll read every one of them. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button, and I will see you guys in the next video very soon. Bye for now.